Have you ever wondered if someone is missing you, even when they don't say it? It's easy to get caught up in thoughts about whether we still matter in someone's life, whether they feel our absence as much as we hope they do. But here's where Stoicism brings an entirely new perspective. Absence has a profound power. You don't need constant affirmation or validation to know your worth. What you need to understand is that absence creates space for reflection, for both you and the person who might be missing you. As you step back, something important happens. The person begins to notice the gap you've left in their life. It's not about making them miss you deliberately. It's about recognizing your own value in their absence. In Stoicism, there's an understanding that what we can't control, we must not chase. But the subtle signs of someone missing you become all the more powerful when we allow the natural flow of emotions to play out. So today, we're diving into the 11 clear signs they miss you like crazy, and how you can see it through the lens of Stoicism. Missing someone isn't always something we recognize immediately. For both the person who misses and the one being missed, it can take time to realize the depth of this emotion. Stoicism teaches us that it's not our job to manipulate or force emotions, but rather to let things naturally unfold. As you focus on yourself and your own growth, you start to see the subtle signs of someone missing you emerge, if you're paying attention. This journey isn't about creating false hope or reading too much into small actions. It's about understanding that real longing leaves its own trace. It's about noticing those moments where they act differently, where their behavior shows they've been thinking about you more than they let on. It's natural to doubt at first. How can you really know if someone is missing you? Maybe they're just busy, maybe it's all in your head. But here's the truth. When someone misses you, their actions will tell the story. Whether they reach out more, whether they reminisce about the past, or even if they show signs of jealousy, their emotions will come to the surface. But before we go further into the signs, remember one thing. In Stoicism, it's not about reacting to their behavior, but about staying grounded in your own sense of self-worth. When you are secure in your value, you can notice these signs without letting them dictate your emotions. Marcus Aurelius teaches us to reflect on our own purpose rather than being swayed by external forces. The challenge, then, is not to chase their attention, but to recognize your own strength in their absence. When someone misses you, the first and most obvious sign is that they start reaching out more frequently. You'll notice that they might be texting you more often, calling when they never used to, or even commenting on your social media posts. These small actions may seem casual on the surface, but beneath them lies a deeper need, a need for connection that your absence has left behind. It's almost like they're trying to fill that empty space, even if they're not fully aware of it themselves. They might send a message just to say, "Hi," or "I was thinking about you." But the truth is, these messages carry a weight they're not quite saying out loud. Now, from a Stoic perspective, this is where things get interesting. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control what others feel or how often they reach out, we can control our response to it. When someone reaches out more often, especially when they hadn't before, it's a signal that your presence, or lack thereof, has made them reflect on what's missing in their life. This is not about seeking attention or validation from them, but rather observing their actions with a calm, centered mind. In Marcus Aurelius Meditations, he often reflected on human behavior, noting that people often act from unconscious needs, driven by emotions they don't fully understand. In the same way, when this person reaches out, their mind is grappling with that absence, seeking to fill the void. But as you witness this shift in their behavior, it's essential to remain rooted in your own self-worth. Don't be too quick to respond. Don't allow their increased communication to shake your balance. As a Stoic, your peace comes from within, not from their need for reconnection. Their need to reach out doesn't mean you should drop everything and rekindle that relationship immediately. You must ask yourself, does this serve my growth? Just as Epictetus said, we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgment about them. In the same way, we must not jump to conclusions just because they've started texting more often. Instead, use this moment as an opportunity to reflect on what their actions say about their state of mind and how it fits into your journey. Sometimes, the more someone reaches out, the more they are trying to rebuild that emotional bridge. But it's essential not to confuse frequent communication with genuine intention. That's where Stoicism comes into play. Read between the lines, observe their behavior without being swept away by it. The lesson here is clear. Their desire to reach out reflects their inner longing, but your response should be measured, thoughtful, and aligned with your own values. Let their actions reveal their feelings, while you remain in control of your own. The second sign is one that's even more telling. When someone misses you deeply, they often start reminiscing about the past. They bring up memories that the two of you shared, moments that meant something, whether big or small. Perhaps they casually mention an inside joke that only the two of you would understand. Or maybe they remind you of a trip you took together, a song you both loved, or even just a simple afternoon you spent talking. These memories are not just conversations. They're a window into their emotional landscape, showing that they are reliving those moments because they are missing the connection they once had with you. In Stoicism, the past is often seen as something we must acknowledge without clinging to it. Seneca warned us that time is what we want most but use worst. When someone starts to dwell on the past, they are searching for something they feel they've lost. It's their way of holding on to the parts of you that still linger in their thoughts. But as a Stoic, your task is not to get lost in those memories. Instead, reflect on why they are resurfacing now. What does it say about their emotional state? And more importantly, how does reflecting on the past align with your present self? When someone starts reminiscing, it's often because the present feels incomplete without you. They are grasping for the warmth of those shared experiences, hoping to recreate them in some way. Marcus Aurelius himself reflected on the fleeting nature of time, reminding us that we must live in the present, even as we carry the lessons of the past. For them, the past has become a source of comfort, a reminder of a time when things felt right. But for you, as someone grounded in Stoic principles, those memories should be acknowledged with clarity and detachment. You can appreciate the beauty of those shared moments without letting them pull you away from your current path. When someone says, "Remember when we used to," or "I was thinking about that time what they're really saying is, "I miss the connection we had." They are trying to recapture those moments because they miss the feelings that came with them. But as a Stoic, you must ask yourself, does dwelling on these memories serve your growth? Does returning to the past help you move forward? The answer isn't always straightforward, and that's why it's essential to remain centered in the present, recognizing that their reminiscing is a reflection of their longing, not necessarily a call to return to what was. Their memories, their nostalgia, are signs that your absence has left an impact. But Stoicism teaches us to let go of the past without letting it control us. Remember what Marcus Aurelius wrote. "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Don't let their reminiscing hold you back. Instead, use it as a mirror to see how far you've come, and how their longing for the past doesn't have to dictate your future. The third sign that someone is missing you is when they suddenly become more curious about your life. This is when they start asking questions that they never used to ask. Maybe they want to know who you've been spending time with, what new projects you're working on, or how your personal life has evolved. Their curiosity isn't just small talk. It's a sign that your absence has left them wondering about what they've missed. They're trying to fill in the gaps, trying to understand the parts of your life that they no longer have access to. In Stoicism, curiosity about others can often reflect a sense of loss or lack of control over our own emotional world. When someone becomes curious about your life after a period of distance, it's because they've realized how much you matter to them, even if they can't admit it outright. They want to reconnect, but instead of saying so directly, their curiosity takes the form of questions, trying to piece together what's changed in your world, and if there's still a place for them in it. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In the same way, when someone expresses curiosity about your life, what they're really expressing is a want, a desire to know what they've missed, a need to understand how your life has grown without them. This curiosity can be subtle, but it speaks volumes. It shows that they've been thinking about you, wondering if you've moved on, if you've found happiness without them. And as a Stoic, your response to this curiosity should be measured and calm. Their questions don't need to elicit an emotional response from you. Instead, let them reveal their feelings while you remain in control of your own emotional landscape. Curiosity is a sign of longing, a way for them to stay connected to you even when they feel disconnected. But as you notice this sign, don't let their curiosity drive your actions. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If their curiosity is a sign of their longing, your thoughts must remain focused on your own growth and path. Let them ask their questions, let them wonder about your life, but don't allow their curiosity to pull you back into old patterns. Instead, view their curiosity through the lens of Stoicism. It's a reflection of their inner struggle, their realization that your absence has left them with unanswered questions. But as a Stoic, your focus is not on answering those questions for them. It's on continuing to live your life with purpose, regardless of their need for connection. Their curiosity may be a sign that they miss you, but your inner peace comes from knowing that your worth isn't defined by their attention. The fourth sign that someone misses you is jealousy. It's not always easy to spot, but when someone starts acting jealous, it's one of the clearest indicators that your absence has shaken them. Jealousy is tricky. It creeps in when people see you moving on, growing, and thriving without them. Maybe you've posted a picture of yourself out with friends, or maybe they've heard through mutual acquaintances that you're doing well. And then it happens, those subtle signs of jealousy begin to show. Maybe they make a passing comment about who you're spending time with, or they suddenly seem more interested in who's in your life now. These small reactions tell you everything you need to know. They miss you, but their pride won't let them say it outright. In Stoicism, jealousy is seen as a harmful emotion that stems from insecurity and attachment. Seneca warns us that jealousy can cloud judgment and cause unnecessary suffering. For the person experiencing it, their jealousy isn't really about you. It's about their internal struggle with the idea of losing you. They see you moving forward, perhaps happier without them, and it stirs something inside them. Jealousy, after all, is just another form of longing, a reaction to the fear that they've been replaced or left behind. But here's where Stoicism comes into play for you. When you notice signs of jealousy, don't react emotionally. As tempting as it may be to let that jealousy validate you, remain calm and centered. Epictetus teaches us that it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about them. Their jealousy is not a reflection of your worth or even a true indication of their feelings. It's a sign of their emotional battle, one that is fueled by their own thoughts, not by your actions. When they express jealousy, it's not an invitation to engage. You must stay focused on your own journey. You are not responsible for their emotional turmoil, and you shouldn't let their jealousy affect your own sense of peace. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This strength is what will carry you through moments when their jealousy attempts to pull you into emotional conflict. Remember, their emotional battle is theirs to fight. Your role, as a Stoic, is to stay centered and to acknowledge their jealousy without allowing it to disrupt your path. Perhaps one of the most significant signs that someone misses you is when they begin to work on themselves. This is the fifth sign, their efforts towards self-improvement. Suddenly, you notice they're going to the gym more, picking up new hobbies, or working on their personal development. It might seem like they're doing this for themselves, but deep down, they're driven by the realization that your absence has left a void. They've recognized that in order to win you back, or at least regain your attention, they need to become a better version of themselves. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes particularly valuable. In Stoicism, self-improvement is one of the highest pursuits, but it must be done for oneself, not for others. Marcus Aurelius often spoke of the importance of improving oneself daily, but always with the understanding that this growth should be for personal enlightenment, not to gain favor or approval from others. When you notice this person striving to better themselves, ask yourself, are they doing it to impress you, or have they truly internalized the need for change? From their perspective, self-improvement can often be a way of bridging the emotional gap they feel. They may not say, "I miss you," but their actions speak louder than words. They are working to become the kind of person they think you'd respect or miss in return. But as a Stoic, you must approach this with caution. Their efforts are admirable, but don't allow their self-improvement to dictate your emotions or decisions. You must remain focused on your own growth. It's easy to feel flattered when someone begins changing themselves because of your absence, but Stoicism teaches us that we must not let others' actions steer our path. Self-improvement is a beautiful thing, but it must be authentic. Are they doing it because they genuinely want to grow, or because they see it as a way to regain your favor? This is where your Stoic mindset must be sharp. Seneca once said, "The greatest wealth is to live content with little." In this context, little means contentment with oneself, not seeking validation through the changes others make for you. So when you witness their efforts to improve, take note, but don't let it sway your own journey. Encourage their growth, but don't feel responsible for it. The Stoic path is about self-mastery, and that means you must focus on your own growth, just as they should focus on theirs. If their changes align with their true values, wonderful. But remember, your peace comes from your own self-improvement, not theirs. The sixth sign that someone misses you is perhaps the most understated but also the most revealing subtle hints of longing. This is when their feelings start to show in small, almost imperceptible ways. Maybe they're not reaching out directly, but you notice that they've been liking old pictures of you on social media. Or perhaps they're casually dropping hints in conversations that remind you of times you spent together. These little signals may seem insignificant, but they are powerful clues that they've been thinking about you far more than they let on. Stoicism teaches us to pay attention to the subtle things, the unspoken emotions that lie beneath the surface. Epictetus would say, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In this case, their subtle hints are a quiet way of reaching out, without actually saying, "I miss you." It's as if they're testing the waters, hoping that you'll notice their signals without them having to openly admit their feelings. When you observe these signs, take a moment to reflect on what they really mean. They may not be ready to come out and express their longing directly, but their actions reveal a deeper truth. Your absence has left an impact. They want to reconnect, but they're unsure of how to approach you, so instead, they let these subtle hints do the talking. As a Stoic, your role is to recognize these signs without getting lost in them. While their subtle signals may be a sign of their longing, your focus must remain on being true to yourself. But why do people use these subtle hints rather than just coming out and saying how they feel? It's often because they're afraid of rejection or vulnerability. In Stoicism, we understand that vulnerability is not something to fear, but rather something to embrace with grace. However, not everyone practices this. Instead, they choose the safer route, liking your old pictures, mentioning memories in passing, or making indirect comments that suggest they've been thinking about you. But for you, the Stoic thinker, these signs should be observed with calm and clarity. Don't rush to respond emotionally to these subtle hints. Let them be what they are, a reflection of their inner state, not a call for you to act immediately. If they're dropping these signals, it's because they missed the connection they had with you. But as Stoicism teaches, your peace is not dependent on their subtle gestures. Your peace is internal, grounded in your own journey. Their subtle hints of longing are their way of reaching out, but you must stay focused on your path. Acknowledge their signals, but don't let them distract you from your purpose. After all, in the end, it's not about how many hints they drop. It's about how aligned you are with your own values and goals. Now we come to one of the most powerful and revealing signs that someone misses you: emotional vulnerability. When someone has spent enough time in your absence, wrestling with their emotions and their pride, there comes a moment when their walls begin to crumble. This is when they let down their guard, when they stop trying to be strong, and their real feelings come to the surface. You might notice that they start opening up about things they've never shared before, about their regrets, their mistakes, or how they've been feeling since you've been apart. This vulnerability is not something that comes easily for most people, especially if they've been holding on to their pride for so long. But when it does emerge, it's one of the clearest signs that they've been missing you deeply. In Stoicism, vulnerability isn't seen as a weakness, but as a necessary part of growth. Epictetus teaches us that it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. In the same way, when someone becomes vulnerable, they are acknowledging that they don't have all the answers, that their pride hasn't served them well, and that they're ready to face their emotions head-on. This is a crucial turning point in the journey because it shows that they've moved beyond superficial feelings and are starting to confront the deeper impact of your absence. But as a Stoic, your response to their vulnerability must be grounded in calm and clarity. Vulnerability can be powerful, but it can also be manipulative if not handled with care. Are they opening up because they genuinely want to grow and heal, or are they doing it in the hopes of eliciting a specific reaction from you? Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to remain detached from the emotions of others, understanding that while we can offer support, we must not let their feelings dictate our own state of mind. When someone becomes vulnerable with you, listen with empathy, but remain aware of your own boundaries. Their vulnerability may stir emotions within you, but remember that their journey is their own. You can appreciate their openness without being swept up by it. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." For this person, opening up and showing their true feelings is an act of courage. But for you, as a Stoic, the courage lies in staying true to yourself, even when their vulnerability tugs at your heart. You can acknowledge their feelings without sacrificing your own emotional well-being. The eighth sign that someone misses you, and perhaps one of the most direct, is when they actively make an effort to reconnect. This isn't just about sending a casual text or dropping subtle hints. This is when they take tangible steps toward re-entering your life. Maybe they propose meeting up, maybe they ask for a heart-to-heart conversation, or perhaps they finally acknowledge that they miss the connection you once shared. Whatever form it takes, this is their way of trying to bring you back into their world. In Stoicism, we learn that true change is not just about words, it's about actions. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of aligning one's thoughts with one's actions, and when someone makes the effort to reconnect with you, they are aligning their actions with the feelings they've been struggling with. They've realized that their life isn't as full without you in it, and they're taking steps to bring you back. But here's where you must tread carefully. Just because they are making an effort to reconnect doesn't mean you should immediately let them back into your life. Stoicism teaches us to approach situations with wisdom and discernment. Ask yourself, has this person truly changed? Are they reaching out because they've grown? Or are they just trying to fill the emotional void left by your absence? Epictetus reminds us that we are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. In this case, their effort to reconnect is a sign that they miss you, but it's up to you to decide whether this reconnection aligns with your growth and values. When they reach out, be mindful of your own boundaries. You can welcome their efforts with kindness, but don't feel pressured to rekindle the relationship if it doesn't serve your well-being. Seneca taught that we must live according to our principles, not according to the desires of others. Reconnection can be a beautiful thing, but only if it's built on genuine growth and mutual respect. If their change is real, it will be reflected not just in their words, but in their actions. But remember, Stoicism teaches us to remain centered, even in the face of someone else's longing. Reconnection is their journey, but your path must always remain true to yourself. The ninth sign that someone misses you is when they show an increased interest in your life, sometimes to the point of seeming overly curious. Perhaps they start asking more questions about what you've been up to, who you've been spending time with, or what new goals you're working on. This sudden curiosity can be subtle at first. Maybe they start commenting more on your social media posts, or they ask friends about how you're doing. But over time, it becomes clear that their curiosity is driven by something deeper. They miss having a place in your life. In Stoicism, curiosity is often linked to attachment. When someone becomes overly curious about your life, it's a sign that they are struggling with the distance that has grown between you. Epictetus teaches us that it is not things that disturb us, but our thoughts about things. Their curiosity reflects their thoughts. They're longing for the connection they once had with you. They want to know what's changed in your life because they miss being a part of it. But here's where Stoicism provides valuable guidance. Just because someone is curious about your life doesn't mean you need to satisfy that curiosity. Your life is your own, and your growth is not dependent on their approval or understanding. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If their curiosity starts to feel intrusive or overwhelming, it's important to set boundaries. You can be kind and open, but don't feel obligated to share more than you're comfortable with. Their increased interest in your life is a sign that they miss the connection they had with you. But Stoicism teaches us to remain focused on our own journey. You are not responsible for filling the void they feel. Their curiosity may be a way of staying connected to you, but your peace comes from staying connected to yourself. Let their curiosity be a reminder of your own growth, and know that you have the power to choose how much of your life you share. The 10th sign that someone misses you is when you start to notice changes in their behavior. These changes might be subtle at first, but over time, they become more pronounced. Maybe they start acting differently around you, more reserved, more thoughtful, or even more eager to engage. These shifts in behavior often come from the realization that your absence has affected them in ways they didn't expect. In Stoicism, we learn that behavior is often a reflection of internal struggle. When someone starts acting differently around you, it's a sign that they are grappling with their emotions, trying to make sense of the void you've left behind. Seneca reminds us that our actions follow from our thoughts. We become what we contemplate. Their behavior is a window into their thoughts, and those thoughts are likely centered around the absence they feel. But as a Stoic, your role is to observe these changes without becoming emotionally entangled in them. Their behavior is their own, and while it may be a sign that they miss you, it is not your responsibility to manage their emotions. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that we must remain steadfast in our own purpose, regardless of how others behave. When you notice these subtle shifts, take a moment to reflect on what they might mean, but don't allow them to steer your course. Their behavior is a reflection of their internal world, but your peace comes from staying true to your own. The 11th and final sign that someone misses you is when they seek closure. This is when they ask for that final conversation, that last moment of clarity where they can express everything they've been holding inside. Maybe they want to apologize, maybe they want to explain their side of the story, or maybe they just want to hear your voice one last time. Whatever the reason, when someone seeks closure, it's because they haven't been able to move on from the connection they had with you. In Stoicism, closure is seen not as an external event, but as an internal process. Epictetus teaches us that you cannot control the actions of others, only your own. When someone seeks closure, it's often because they are looking for a way to make peace with the emotions they've been carrying. But as a Stoic, you must remember that closure doesn't come from external conversations. It comes from within. You don't need someone else's words to find peace. You already have the tools to create your own closure through reflection and self-awareness. When they ask for closure, you can choose to engage or not. But whatever you decide, make sure that your decision aligns with your own values and peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In other words, closure doesn't have to be dramatic or emotional. It can be a simple acknowledgement that you've both grown and moved on. Let their request for closure be a reminder that your own peace is already within you, and that no external conversation can take that away. So there you have it, 11 signs they miss you like crazy. But remember, Stoicism teaches us that it's not about waiting for someone to miss you. It's about living your life with purpose, clarity, and inner strength. Let them miss you, but never lose sight of your own journey. Comment below, share your experiences, and don't forget to subscribe to our growing community of Stoic thinkers. Together, we'll continue to explore how Stoicism can help us live better, fuller lives.